All right, appreciate y'all being here, and hopefully you got some good stuff out of practice today. Before we get rolling, and I don't have this big long opening statement, so y'all just fire questions away. But I do want to say this, man, is Coach Kellogg and the women's basketball team. I thought that was really impressive, and I thought it showed well on national TV. And man, if we can play. And I told our team this the day after, so Tuesday in our team meeting on Tuesday morning, if we can play defense and we can show as much grit and toughness as those women did this season, then we're going to be in pretty good shape. So not the result we wanted, but man, did they represent us in the right way? So I wanted to make sure, and then meet Coach DeVries tomorrow. Looking forward to that, and I'll be at the press conference, and then we're going to spend some time together. So welcome him and his family to Morgantown. This has been a fun group to coach so far. Guys are excited. It's good energy. Like today and Monday, it's two-hand touch. So you've heard me say this. Like I don't know what we get. I don't know what we can learn until Friday. So Friday we're going to start playing some real football. So, but with that, I'll take questions.
Two things then. Can you get fined for complaining about somebody else's officiating?
Nope. That's not as far as I know. Not as far as I know. Like that was, that was crazy. But it wasn't like we weren't taking it to the rim either, right?
So obviously, you can't understand a lot of things that's happening until you get pads on. But observations so far through 2 days, what have you?
Yeah, fun group to coach. They're allowing us to coach them, which I think is important. We've got more depth defensively at our mid and our skill positions, linebacker and secondary, which I think we're going to be better. I don't know when, but we're going to be better. It's just, when is that going to happen? It's going to take us a while to get some repetitions within our scheme. I think our young receivers have taken a step. I felt like that in the winter. They've worked really hard collectively as a group. They're taking a step. I thought Nico, where Garrett wasn't here on Monday, Nico, I think, has a chance to be one of our most improved players. He took all the reps and really handled it well, matured, like pre-snap process and those type of things are much improved. So I was really impressed with his preparation and excited to see kind of as he continues to mature.
Different operationally, having two experienced quarterbacks out there and running.
Yeah, no doubt, John. It is, and they're each of them, they're ready to take the next step. We talked about Garrett quite a bit a couple weeks ago in the press conference as far as just what he needs to do to take the next step. But I'm just as intrigued to see the next step for Nico. He's been patient, and I think he's ready to take a significant jump. And he's worked extremely hardest he's worked to this point. And so it does. What we always go back, so like we have winter and then spring and then summer and then fall camp. And each one of those phases, we always start back at the foundation for the offense. And so, but what happens is you can get to your second and third, the 200, 300 level types of teaching a lot faster when you have the experience at quarterback that we do.
Seen some inconsistencies in his dropbacks that he thought, maybe it hampered his completion percentage. Can you just add a little more on that? Maybe some of the things that he's specifically trying to improve upon?
Yeah, what we talked about is he's got to take ownership of his own personal development. And so, and I think that's just a piece of growth. And we talked about it a little bit the other day. So right after the season, and he didn't play, like he played okay in the bowl game, but not to the level that I expect him to play and not to the level that he expects to play. And so what I had him do is make a cut up of his best throws and his worst throws, and then really look for consistencies. What happens with his feet and his release when the ball is where it's supposed to be and it's a really positive throw and a positive result. And the flip side of that, what are some commonalities that occur when the ball's off the mark or it's a poor throw? And he did that. And, again, he's got a personal kind of quarterback coach that he works with, and that's really about the fundamentals. The best way I can it's no different than, my daughter who plays softball, she has a hitting instructor that's outside of both her travel team and her high school team that she plays for. And so he has a quarterback instructor, a throwing instructor, and really we're working together, like us, the instructor, and Garrett, to help him be better. And we're 3 months into it. Today was the first day's practice, so those are the first things, some of these mechanical things that we changed with how he finishes and really working on touch passes, getting his drops more consistent and giving him some input on what the drops are going to be. So today was the first day under a little bit of pressure, not game-type pressure, but a little bit of pressure in a competitive situation where he's had to execute that. And there's going to be some ups and downs. Sometimes you go backwards before you go forwards when you're making some significant changes. But we know, I just want him to be better when we start in August. When we start fall camp, I think that's when he needs to be significantly better, and I think he's on a path to get there.
We had a lot of people talk about Bray in particular and how Aubrey said that he looks like a quote-unquote guy so far. You already can see that. What have you seen in him so far? Any of the newcomers that are here, what have you seen in them early on so far that jumps out at you, good and bad?
Yeah, offensively, let's start up front. Xavier Bosley's got some really raw tools. And, again, it's harder for the O-line, D-line to really practice when we don't have pads on. But I like his athleticism. Jaden Bray had a great day today. There's always a big jump because so today was Jaden's second practice with us. The first practice for all those transfers, they know they came to play, right? That's why he transferred, to come to play. And they put pressure on themselves, and everything's new. So, where to go, what to do, new reps and schemes. So they're all anxious, and usually there's a big jump between practice 1 and practice 2. And Jaden had that today. The thing that's really impressed with me, he's extremely humble, and he's had success at Oklahoma State. He knows that he's capable and talented enough to have a lot more success, and he's really worked extremely hard. He's a natural ball catcher. He's a really good football player. When we do special teams, he does some things on our coverage units that a lot of wideouts don't do, and so that's a credit to what he did at Oklahoma State, but also a credit to high school and where he's from in Oklahoma. But those are the things that really have stuck out to me, is humility and just his ability as an overall football player, not just a receiver. And he can run, and he's put on some good weight. He'll continue to do that. And then defensively, Garnett and Jaheim, they didn't have the conditioning background that the rest of our guys did leading into spring ball. And so we're watching their reps. But I thought they both made some plays today and showed up probably in the pass game a little bit more today. TJ Crandall, he's still, this is his second semester. And so a lot of times we get transfers, we get them older. And so I always got to and I was telling Shadon this in our staff meeting this morning. I was like, hey, remember now, this is his second semester. And so he's very much in the learning process, but he made a couple of really nice plays today. And then TJ Jackson is going to be a factor for us. Anybody else, Mike, that you were wondering about?
I think that covered most of them.
Yeah. Reed Carrico
Yeah, that would be
had a nice first day, and I like how he plays. Plays very under control. I think this defense is going to fit his skill set more so than the defense he played at Ohio State. And they played at a high level. I think just from a schematic system standpoint, I think we're a better fit.
Curious, would a Neal Brown 10 years ago be as receptive to having outside help for Garrett as you are today?
Probably not, but I think there's some trust there because I know the instructor very well, and there's some things that we just can't do with him. And he knows Garrett personally, and they've worked together for a long time, and so he's seen the transition from where he was, in high school all the way through. The short answer to that is no, but there's reasons. I've matured myself, but yeah, absolutely. That's the game's changed that way, and I see the benefits of it as well. Because a lot of the times we're saying the same things.
Question on 3 individuals. So Austin, Cave, Lawton, and then Chris Herring? Start with the players, or they no longer?
So Tariq, he hasn't been with us all winter, and so he made the decision. He's going to graduate, and we wish him the best. Zaki has medically retired, and he had a deal that it just really was a struggle. He's a great kid and fully support him. And Chris is working with us in a consulting role, and so giving us some eyes, and he's a lot of experience. He's a head coach for a long time, and he's been a really successful special teams coordinator, both at Pitt and at Wisconsin. And he's a former Mountaineer, and he's got and so he's going to help us in a consulting role.
Mainly special teams with him?
Yeah, mainly special teams. Yeah.
Notice Traylon, Ray, and Hudson, body-wise, they really
Yeah, they put on
Improve
weight.
himself.
Yeah, and I think they'll continue. Hudson Clement has probably, of all our skill guys in our program, he may have had the best. And I say this a lot because, and I know we did the video. Did you ask Garrett about his feature film we had? I had to really hang in there for 7 minutes now. He.
What's that say for your attention span?
Yeah, probably I'm about on par with most. But I lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
We were talking about Hudson.
Oh yeah, so Hudson, and I say Hudson. Everybody wants it to be a feel-good story, and there are some really cool elements. But the kid can really play, and he's a good athlete. And so Mike tested all our guys last week, and they tested in the shuttle, 10, the 20, the L drill that they do at the combine. And I mean, Hudson's right at the top on every one of those. So he's added weight and gotten faster.
How big of a spring is this for Jalen Anderson?
Big. Yeah, no doubt. He knows it. He's talented. He really is. He's been more consistent in the winter. Was okay on Monday. Was much better. He's been more coachable. And so this is a big, he's plenty talented enough to play here and take on a bigger role. But he has to go out and do it, and it's more of a consistency. There's been some real highs, but there's been some real lows. But he's capable, and we want him to be successful here. He just has to go out and make it happen.
Deal back on Ray. I imagine he's neither an inside nor an outside, probably combination.
Yeah.
And just the physical skill that allows him to do that. Looks like if he moves his body, he's got probably good eyes.
He does. He's a really good blocker too. He's got some strength to him. He looks like a long, lean guy, but he's got some raw power. And so what we're trying to do really is just train all those guys to be inside and outside. Like today while y'all were out there, you probably saw Hudson working some in the slide, Jaden work some in the slide, Traylon work some in the slide. Just getting them used to doing more so of that. And we'll be a little bit more in some 10 personnel, 4 wideouts during spring because Cole's not going. So in some 2-minute situations, we'll do that, where last fall, probably going into, the season, Cole will be back out there doing that.
Coach, even being out there, people were mentioning about Ray and Hudson and their body and their offseason. How would you characterize Rodney Gallagher's offseason, where he is now and where you expect him to go as a player this year? A lot of hype going into last year, but
Yeah, he's going to take so much more fluid. You got to think like last year, and I tried to not temper, but I wanted to make sure expectations were in line, just because it was such a different deal for him. Going from playing quarterback and just kind of running around to now he had to play receiver, and we tried to get him the ball, especially from about the midpoint on, and he did some good things. But I think he'll be a guy that's going to be a true receiver now, and not just somebody that we're trying to figure out how to get the ball to. And he's gained strength. He's worked really hard. For somebody that had the attention as young as he did, being on Bronny's AU basketball team and winning all the accolades both in basketball and football, he's really humble, and he's came in here and worked. And I think that bodes well for him. but he's a much better receiver right now than he was at any point last year.
Speaking of small receivers, tell me a little bit about Tyler Evans.
Yeah.
Maybe he could play for
Yeah,
you.
so Tyler is from Youngstown, and he's walked on and kind of established himself as a really hard worker. I think this fall he's going to get played a little bit last year on a couple special teams. But if you talk about somebody that's got a lot of respect from our football team, and it's earned because how he works, and I think he's a guy from offensively, but for the most part, probably special teams wise, has a real chance heading into the fall.
Neil, how was your relationship with Garrett again when he was 14, 15 years old?
Yeah, so he came to our camp at Troy, and I don't know what he weighed, but it wasn't very much. But he had a really live arm, and so there's two things that stuck out to me when he came to our camp is number one, like for a kid that probably weighed 140, 145 pounds, man, the ball just jumped out of it. One thing we do at camp is we always do an out throw from one hash to the other hash, right? And like he did it with ease. The other thing too is just he had contagious energy and like bounced around, and that's something like, and y'all probably get a sense too. And honestly, he's still a little bit down. Like he and his grandfather are really close, so he buried him on Monday and then turned around today, and he didn't get back till like I don't know about 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning, so he's not exactly himself. But and y'all have interacted with him enough now. Like we talked today in our team meeting, we were talking about energy givers and energy takers, and he is an energy giver. Like you feel better being around him because he has a good vibe about himself. He smiles a lot. He has great energy. And so when he initially came to the camp, even though he was tiny, the ball jumped out, and you could tell he had this aura about him that he had natural leadership skills and he had really positive energy.
How do you keep that going over the years? I mean,
Well, that's a credit to his mom and dad, really. Both his mom and his dad, they understand, athletics. His dad has been involved in baseball his whole life, and his mom Blake is really. She does a good job of keeping him grounded. Like funny, like last night, my wife, who I need to note, it's her birthday today, so I need to make sure, like, all right, happy birthday. But so my wife was showing me the movie basically we did on Garrett's season last year, and she was doing a kind of a head count on how many times he flipped his hair, and but she was showing me that, and so I texted him like, "Hey man, are we going to be able to fit you? Like, do we need to get a bigger helmet for you coming to practice tomorrow after your cinematic debut here?" And he's like, my mom already texted me, so like she does a good job of keeping him humble too. But I think like his energy and his outlook, that didn't have anything to do with what he's doing here. That has everything to do with his mom and dad.
It's probably too early for me to ask this, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
All right.
We'll probably revisit it. Clay Ash, pretty intriguing guy.
He is. His some of his times are really good too. Local guy, graduated high school early, played at IMG his senior year, and he's going to be a guy that's kind of the next one of these guys that came as a walk on, but he's going to be a player. Yeah, he's got good football talent. He's got good knowledge. He's strong. He can run. He's got really, really good short area burst.
Is that 220 accurate?
I don't know about all that. I don't know. We'll have to check Monty on that one. I'm gonna say no, but he is like he's strong.
Playing for the next 8-10 days, and what do you need to accomplish?
Yeah. So tomorrow, what we've done is basically got it planned for the first 2 weeks, and then to try to have some flexibility to kind of meet us where we're at. And so we're gonna put the pads on Friday, and we're gonna do a little bit of tackling, more of a teaching than a lot of good on good, and really start hitting on some situations. Really run game focus on Friday, and then come back. We're going to practice next Tuesday and Thursday Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and kind of build up. We got all of our parents' families are coming in on Saturday the 6th, and so build it up. Where we'll do some work in the stadium on Saturday, but I want to progress where the following Thursday and Saturday we're going to be getting to where we're prepared to do some physical work. Anybody else?
Anything else?
Okay.
All right, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.